Hmm.
LucasArts is on a winning streak. Now, if you had told me 5 years ago that I would say that, I would have called you crazy. But Disney continues to treat the old Lucasfilm properties with growing and growing amounts of respect, as their recent GOG releases have proved. But for this one, Grim Fandango, the one that is quite possibly LucasArts' magnum opus, they've done something really special. They gave it back to Tim Schafer. The rights situation is still more than a little nebulous, of course, considering that the remastering required rights mangling from 3 different groups. Sony, who wanted the game on PlayStation, Disney, who owns the rights to the game, and Double Fine, the indie studio comprised of Grim Fandango's original developers. It's really something of a miracle that it's available again, but trust me when I say that you should really take advantage of it. Believe the hype, folks. This is indeed one of the greatest adventure games ever made. The game takes place in the 8th Underworld, an afterlife modeled after the Mexican Day of the Dead folklore. In this land, the dead try to make their way to the next world, which is heavily implied to be a sort of nirvana. If you were a good person in life, you would get to take a 4-minute train ride, as opposed to the 4-year journey you would have to make on foot if you were bad at life. In this world, main character Manny Calavera is a reaper and travel agent working off the debt of his sins, all of which remain a mystery. However, he senses suspicious goings-on when all of his clients turn out to be total scumbags, and when he messes with the system and finally lands himself a saint, he unveils a massive conspiracy endangering the souls of many good men and women. If you're familiar with games like Telltale's The Walking Dead or Wolf Among Us, you might have a basic idea of how to play Grim Fandango, but the puzzles are much more complex. One of the chief complaints with this game, now that it's finally available again, is how the puzzles are ridiculously obtuse and too difficult. And I can see why those complaints are there. Adventure games have gotten a lot easier since back in the day. However, if you're patient and you take the time to try and figure out the puzzles for yourself, you'll discover that the vast majority of them are ingenious, and you'll get a great sense of satisfaction from solving them. The puzzles aren't what you'll be playing Grim Fandango for, though. You'll be playing this game for the story, and it's one of the finest interactive narratives around. Its worlds are jam-packed with tons of interesting characters, all of which are worth talking to. The villains are just the right amount of smarmy to make them believable and gratifying to take down. But perhaps the most interesting character is our protagonist, Manny himself. He's a very flawed character, and his selfishness is what kicks the game's plot in motion. In fact, he acts very selfishly throughout the course of the whole game. But his drive to ultimately do right is what makes him interesting. It makes his interactions with the other characters really interesting, especially the antagonists. I don't want to say that we don't have protagonists like that anymore, because of course we do, but it's still an interesting lens through which to see the world through. While some complain about the pre-rendered environments as being too dated, I think the artistic direction allows them to shine through. Yes, this game is old, but it still looks fantastic because of its unique art style. That's not to say they didn't touch up the game a bit, of course. They did, to great effect. But they didn't mess with too much. They cleaned up a few textures here, removed some jaggies there, and overall it looks like the way the game was originally meant to be played. It's like a Criterion Collection Blu-ray of an old favorite, and that analogy becomes even more true with the developer's commentary and revised control schemes, which, contrary to Tim Schafer's opinion, are definitely much better than the original take controls. Let me put it bluntly, you need to pick this up. If you've never played Grim Fandango before, you need to pick this up. If you've played it long ago, you need to pick this up. If you love great storytelling, great writing, and great character, pick this up. In fact, no more ifs. Just pick this game up now.